Why don't champions feel like actual champions anymore? When they first released back in 2021, it was a big addition to the game. Suddenly, you had this new special ability for certain troops that you can activate on demand and change the course of a whole push. With it came unique game mechanics like the 3-card cycle that made champions so much more unique and powerful. But now, with so many new additions to the game, champions feel no more special than commons or rare cards, and everything that made them unique simply went away. So today, we'll be discussing how champions started out as the rarest and most powerful troop to now being just another card in the deck and just another gimmick in a crowded space. Champions launched on October 2021 alongside King Level 14, and the hype was absolutely insane. Supercell introduced 3 champions at launch: the Skeleton King, the Golden Knight, and the Archer Queen. But these weren't just stronger cards with better stats. They operated under completely different rules than anything else in the game. Each champion came with something no other card had at the time: an ability button. You could tap it mid-battle, spend a bit of extra elixir, and trigger a unique effect that can completely shift the momentum of a fight. This was what made them feel like champions. The community's initial reaction was an absolute outrage. People immediately called it pay to win, and the sentence "Supercell finally went full pay to win" was plastered all over Reddit. And honestly, they had a point. The Archer Queen hit a 60% usage rate in grand challenges within the first week of release, and Supercell had to emergency nerf her almost immediately. But here's the thing. Despite all the complaints and despite the accusations of ruining the game, champions felt genuinely special. They were rare, they were powerful, and if you didn't have one, you felt the disadvantage immediately. The meta shifted overnight. That feeling of unlocking your first champion and finally getting to press that ability button for the first time is what made them special. There were 3 specific mechanics that gave champions their identity, 3 pillars that separated them from every other card in the game, and understanding these pillars is critical because each one of them would eventually be stripped away. The first pillar was obviously the ability button itself. Champions had something no other card possessed: manual activation. You, the player, controlled when the ability happened. It wasn't automatic. It wasn't random. You tap that ability button whenever you want, spend additional elixir, and change the entire push whether on defense or offense. It wasn't just place the card and watch it do its thing, like every other troop. You had to make decisions mid-fight. Do I activate the ability now or wait for a better moment? Do I have enough elixir to support the ability and defend the counter push? Those are strategic questions that didn't exist before champions, and that's what made them feel like actual champions. The second pillar was the 1 per deck restriction. You could only have 1 champion in your entire deck, and that limitation made champion selection a defining strategic decision. You weren't just playing a deck, you were playing a Golden Knight deck or a Skeleton King deck. Your champion shaped your deck's entire identity. Even Mirror couldn't copy champions. This restriction created genuine scarcity. It forced you to commit and made champions feel rare and powerful because you had to choose just one, and that choice mattered. The 3-card cycle is where things got really interesting. This is the mechanic that competitive players absolutely loved and exploited to its full potential, while casual players, by Supercell's own admission, rarely even understood it existed. Normally in Clash Royale, you have something called a 4-card cycle, meaning when you play a specific card, like a Hog Rider for example, you have to play 4 more cards until the Hog Rider is back in your hand. But when you had a champion deployed on the battlefield, that champion entered a state called Limbo. It didn't go to your discard pile like every other card. It just stayed out of your rotation entirely. What this meant in practice was your 8-card deck effectively became a 7-card deck, and if you only have 7 cards cycling instead of 8, you only need to play 3 cards instead of 4 to get back to anything you need. This is the 3-card cycle. Let's say you're running a rocket cycle deck with the Mighty Miner and you fire your rocket at the tower. Normally, you'd have to play 4 more cards before you could rocket again. But with Mighty Miner deployed and sitting in limbo, you only play 3 cards and boom, rocket's back in your hand. This means you're cycling way faster than your opponent, you're getting back to your win condition faster, and you're applying pressure at a pace they literally cannot match unless they also have a champion. Cycle decks became absurdly powerful in the right hands, but most casual players had no idea this mechanic even existed. These 3 pillars, the abilities, the exclusivity, and the 3-card cycle, worked together to make champions the ultimate card type. But each one of these pillars started crumbling one by one before our eyes, turning champions into another troop like all the others. And the first crack appeared in 2023. On June 2023, Supercell introduced card evolutions to Clash Royale, and with that single update, the first pillar holding up champions came crashing down. The first 4 evolutions were Barbarians, Royal Giant, Firecracker, and Skeletons. And here's the problem that nobody could ignore. These were common and rare cards accessible at Arena 3. Meanwhile, champions required you to reach Arena 15 just to unlock them. And now these low rarity cards that anyone could access early in the game, Suddenly, they had special abilities too. Champions were no longer the only cards with unique powers. The exclusive feature that made them so special in the first place was gone. Evolution abilities activate automatically without a button to press or additional elixir cost. You just deploy the card after a specific cycle, and then the next time you play that card, it comes out evolved. That automatic activation was often more powerful than the manual champion's abilities. You didn't need strategy or timing. The ability triggered itself at the optimal moment because it was coded to. This meant lower skill requirement and higher impact. That's the opposite of what champions were supposed to be. By September 2025, ladder statistics showed that only 4 players in the top 1000 were using single evolution decks. The rest had both evolution slots filled, and 0 players, not a single one, competed at that level without evolutions entirely. Evos weren't just strong, they were mandatory. If you wanted to compete, you had to run them. Meanwhile, champions became optional. You could build a top tier deck without a champion and do just fine, but without evos, you were just throwing. And after that, over 30 evolutions were added to the game, further diluting the special ability effect, giving it more than half of the cards in the game. But evolutions only destroyed the first pillar. The second pillar, the 3-card cycle, was about to disappear entirely. On September 2025, Supercell dropped the October update, and buried in the patch notes was the announcement that would kill the second pillar. The 3-card cycle was officially gone. Supercell's official statement was, with the 3-card cycle, champions were too difficult to balance for competitive players, while the average player rarely took advantage of it. The mechanic that made champions special for skilled players, the thing that separated experts from casuals, was being deleted because it created a skill gap that Supercell just didn't want to deal with anymore. Champions now cycle like ordinary cards, going back into the standard 4-card rotation just like every other troop in your deck. And also, multiple champions can now exist in the arena simultaneously, with only the most recently placed champion that can use its ability. The unique cycling advantage that defined champion gameplay for 4 years was simply gone. And then came the update that would shatter the final pillar and force champions to share the spotlight with something entirely new. On December 2025, the Heroes update went live, and with it came the final destruction of what made champions special. Supercell introduced Heroes with the release of Hero Knight, Hero Giant, Hero Mini P.E.K.K.A, and Hero Musketeer, and then 2 more the next month with Hero Ice Golem and Hero Wizard. And on the surface, Heroes seemed like just another mechanic, but the way they were implemented killed the last remaining pillar that held up the champion's identity. Heroes have ability buttons, just like champions that cost elixir to activate. The only difference is that you had to collect them in fragments like evolutions. But in theory, the mechanic is exactly like the champion's ability. They also introduced 2 hero slots to every deck, and here's the part that killed champion exclusivity. These slots can hold either heroes or champions. You can run 2 heroes, 2 champions, or you can run one of each. It doesn't matter. With this update, the last thing that made champions unique, the 1 per deck restriction, was gone. And the simple power level of heroes made it worse. Heroes are stronger, rarer, and more game-changing now. The damage to champion identity was already done. Champions went from being the ultimate card type, the rarest and most powerful troops in the game, to just another option in the hero slot. And now, if you look at Supercell's release schedule, you can see exactly where the priorities lie. There have been 0 new champion releases since the Boss Bandit back in April of 2025. The development focus has clearly shifted. Supercell isn't investing in champions anymore. They have moved on to evolutions, then to heroes, and champions are just left sitting there as this legacy system that still technically exists, but nobody is really building around. And this isn't the first time Supercell has done this. This exact pattern has played out before in Clash Royale's history. In February 2016, Supercell introduced the legendary rarity to Clash Royale. The first 2 legendaries were Princess and Ice Wizard, and at launch, they were genuinely exciting. They were rare, they were special, and they felt legendary. Getting a legendary in 2016 required absurd luck. You needed to pull a super magical chest from your chest cycle, or you could spend about $40 in gems to buy one from the shop. And even then, you only had about 12.8% chance of actually getting a legendary from that chest. At launch, they felt genuinely premium, and the meta revolved around them. But over time, that changed. Drop rates increased, legendary chests were added to the shop, and they started offering legendaries for gold, and many new systems were introduced to make legendaries more accessible. By 2021, legendaries were just commons. You can get multiple legendaries every month just by playing casually. They didn't feel special anymore. They didn't feel actually legendary. And what was Supercell's solution? Introduce a new ultimate rarity, champions. Supercell released champions, hyped them up and made them OP, then forgot about them when they released evos. And then after they made evos all the hype, they put them on the side for the new shiny thing, heroes. And if the pattern continues, we are bound to see an even stronger, more game-breaking mechanic releasing sometime next month that would also put heroes on the shelf. So champions lost their special status the same way legendaries did, the same way evos did, and the same way heroes probably will, through new systems that overshadow the old, and through a business model that requires sacrificing yesterday's premium for tomorrow's lost profits. And that brings us to where we are now, January 2026, looking at a game where nothing feels special anymore because everything is constantly being replaced. Champions are still viable in January 2026, let's be clear about that. They're not useless, but they are not special anymore. Their uniqueness was simply overshadowed by so many other elements. A year from now, heroes will be something most people disregard in favor of the new OP ultra rare card, just like champions, just like evos, and just like legendaries. But what do you think? Are champions still as special as they were before? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments section, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more Clash deep dives like this one.